Welcome Virgo to your in-depth monthly horoscope for October 2024 for the Ascendant, the Sun or the Moon. Please do take advantage of your year 2025 personal horoscope forecast based on your unique birth data. If you order it now, you can get the rest of year 2024 free, plus your life roadmap report and 30% off. On the screen now, I'm showing the event chart right at the start of the month, and your ruler Mercury is right at the heart of the action, because as September came to a close, Virgo, there was a glorious cazimi, a superior conjunction that brought the curtain down on that month. So that energy is casting its magic into the start of this month, and crucially also over the next 6 months too. So why is that? Well, it's because we have a solar eclipse across the 2nd or 3rd of October, depending on where you are. But because Mercury is so close to the Sun, what a cazimi is the rays of the Sun amplifies the qualities of your ruler. Now, through your sign, Mercury is very much about precision, analysis, a dry look at situations where you drill down into the deeper parts of it to see where you can make small but important refinements and improvements. Mercury's rulership of Gemini, very much about quick communications. But for you, the host, Libra, is about balance, but it's also about articulating a message. The 2nd house for you is about everyday money, self-worth, values and resources. Those can be critical for you over the next 6 months. So as you start this month, there's a big story developing there for you, because your ability to really be very assured in terms of your assessment of situations can see you teasing out more value, making some very astute decisions around your resources. Perhaps if you're looking to start a new business, you're going to do so in a very shrewd and canny way with the help of that solar eclipse. What's not to like? Well, also the moon at the start of this month is in your sign, so that's going to give you a greater ability to be single-minded. It is opposed by Saturn. You can't assume that everybody will necessarily buy in to what you want to achieve, not just in October, but through to next year. However, the lunar eclipse, which occurred across the 17th or 18th of September, was in your opposite sign where Saturn is, but that was very close to the shifting misty energies of Neptune. And to make this solar eclipse work, you always need to be mindful of how someone else will see what you're trying to do. It doesn't necessarily have to be a business partner or a romantic partner. It could just be other people you do need to collaborate with. And because Neptune was in the mix, that can distort. So the fact that the moon's in your sign opposed by Saturn at the start of this month is an early warning that there could be some obstacles ahead. Not everybody is necessarily going to be applauding you for what you're trying to develop. But it is true that Venus in the start of this month is in a part of your scope which will give you the ability to express your ideas in a very diplomatic way, but also a meaningful way. And in fact, by the end of the first week, Venus and Saturn are in a great alliance. So if you say what you mean and mean what you say, but you've done your homework, which of course would be very much in keeping with your sign, and there is something you're really excited about, you want to go with, you will have prepared yourself for any objections that could come your way, because they could be based on people not quite being aware fully of what you're trying to do. However, in terms of ambitions and goals, it's undeniable that Jupiter, going into a retrograde from the 9th through to the first week of February next year for 4 months, which is an annual event, could potentially slow things down in terms of goals and ambitions, but particularly where those goals and ambitions aren't very realistic, because Jupiter can kid us into thinking that anything is possible. But Jupiter's not at its best in the sign of Gemini. It does give you a chance through to June the 9th, 2025, to demonstrate to people how talented you are, but you need to be able to deliver on it. So Jupiter slowing down in the retrograde from 21 degrees could see you thinking a lot about the big picture of your life when it comes to work, goals and ambitions. From the 12th, Pluto goes direct in the part of your chart very late in the sign of Capricorn, which is the 5th house, which can be very joyful, playful, expressive. And it has been there since the 2nd of September, but it is going to go back into your sector of practicalities from the 19th of November. So this is the last Pluto direct in Capricorn any of us will experience in our lifetime. So because it's also an earth sign like yours, if there is something you really are enjoying, or if there's a relationship you're enjoying, this could be an important period. But talking about relationships, Venus is in a chatty area at the start of this month, but it does forge an opposition from the 12th to the 17th, which becomes exact on the 14th, with the rather unsettling energy of Uranus. But what can happen is you may decide to take a journey. It may be a bit of a spontaneous decision, maybe to go with a friend somewhere, go on the train and have an exciting day out. You may go on a city break. You may decide to go last minute to watch a band or a play, a show, and that can create a lot of excitement. But if you're in a relationship which has become a little bit too humdrum, the opposition between Uranus and Venus is pushing you both to try to find ways to reignite the spark between you. But you get additional help because on the 13th, Mercury, your ruler, moves into the chattiest part of your scope. But it does forge a very brittle, tense right angle with Pluto. You might find for a few days after then that your energy could be a little bit edgy, and maybe something someone says can just be a little bit more irritating than usual. But on the 17th, we have two key events. Venus is going to move into the sign of Sagittarius, which is lovely for you if you're wanting to make some modifications to your home. But there's also a full moon on the same day. A full moon in your 8th house. That's where we're deeply invested financially or emotionally. The 2nd house, where the sun is that everyday reality that the solar eclipse is asking you to grapple with. It's just that Mars, in the friendliest part of your scope, but also the sector that's to do with your future, but your highest values, that is in a very difficult, tense T-square with the lunation. If what you're trying to, or what you'd like to achieve in your life, does need some funding, and you need to work with someone else in order to get it, and they don't see it the same, that could create the potential for quite an argument, to be honest. I don't often use that word at all, but Mars in Cancer can be reactive. It can be a bit prickly and defensive. For you in the 11th house, it loses some of its ego because it's much more concerned with creating the group vibe as well as standing up what we need as individuals. But when it comes to money, shared resources, or perhaps is there someone in your friendship group that you're developing a massive interest in, and that might in some ways create some politics. And because of Venus and Uranus previous to that being in that electric opposition, that potential for a sudden fascination with someone is there at the heart of this month. But on the 22nd, the sun joins up with Mercury in the sign of Scorpio. The thing that you're going to notice is the pace of life picks up. But also, that part of you that can be very conscientious can almost be triggered, and you can find yourself almost rushing around trying to do too much, trying to be too virtuous, or trying to express some ideas in a very quick way that you rush them, a little bit uncharacteristically. Also, Venus squares up with Saturn towards the end of this month. However much there has been the potential for some flirty exchanges, the emotional reality of one tie could become much more apparent as the month closes. But also in the last week, Mars and Pluto, the two co-regents of the sign of Scorpio, which of course is where the Sun and the Mercury are for you as this month comes to an end, in your 3rd house of quick communications, they go into a massive standoff. And it's a massive standoff that's going to be repeated. It'll be repeated at the end of this year. It's going to be repeated at the start of next year. It's going to be repeated on the 18th of April. But this particular version of it, with the position of Mars in Cancer, which can be very sensitive, but therefore the more feisty energy of Mars doesn't really sit there very well, you may find yourself either having a clash with a friend because you see a situation very differently, or there could be a massive attraction that you find very, very difficult to avoid. It's going to be interesting because Mars is in the part of your scope until the 4th of November that's about your future hopes. And Mars obviously gives us drive, but also gives us desire. But it is intrinsically linked to the first house, what we want in terms of our identity. And that doesn't always work where other people are involved. And the 11th house is the collective, it's friendships. So some politics could bring this month to an end. Or are you going to get caught up in something where the energy of a group of people is so exciting that you find it very difficult not to be part of it, but you may find that someone else close to you is a little bit judgmental about your interest in this group. But the picture big, Virgo, is if you really want to take your resources, your qualities, your skills and talents seriously, the next 6 months give you a superb opportunity to go for it. But you need to work or be conscious of working closely with others who may see it different. Thank you so much for joining me. Have a great month. And do please check out that year 2025 personal horoscope forecast offer. You'll get the rest of this year free, but also 30% off with your life roadmap report, all based totally on your unique birth data and great value too. Please see the link below for more.